So yeah, the logline part is done. If you've gone through that, I'm hoping that it wasn't too it was pretty easy to understand, and you could craft a logline after reading that, after going through what I just did. So your logline is written. What do you do now? Well, first off, this program isn't about selling your script and how to market yourself, because I'm not I'm not the best at that yet. I mean, if I was, then yeah, I'd be in Hollywood right now probably. Your amazing logline is only one part of a package. But now that you have the logline and you've written your screenplay, it's time for you to put it out there whatever way you choose to do. I'm not going to tell you what's the best way to do. I'm not going to say just enter contests or just query people or find someone that you know or whatever. But if you are ready to submit to contests or producers, or even just to go on a website like Reddit or another online group to have someone read it and give you harsh criticism, you need to have a one sheet. It's important to have a one sheet. This isn't just a logline. This is a logline and your synopsis on one page with a little bit of contact info. So yeah, a one sheet can also be called a one pager, leave behind, or pitch page. This is a single page containing your screenplay's title, genre, contact info, logline, and short synopsis. So the synopsis itself is just like a mini outline. I personally like to break it up into 3 easily digestible paragraphs, so it's not like a pain to read. And you could have it in one big long paragraph if you wanted, but I don't like looking at stuff like that. But that's just me. I like to keep it as clean and as simple to read as possible. And it helps with the act breaks. I mean, you might as well just put the act breaks right into the synopsis so who's reading it will get a better understanding of your story. This is an example. It doesn't look the best on here, as you can see. Probably kind of blurry. This is off a PDF that I created in Word. But this is the logline right here. You can see. I can't log it. You can see the logline is right there. There's no title on this. I found this logline sheet in my computer, and I thought it was just a good example. But I didn't actually write this. And personally, I wouldn't have write a synopsis that long or broken up that much. But I don't know. This is a well-written one sheet though, and here it actually adds something to the genre. It says creature feature, but then it also says 30 Days of Night meets The Descent. So that's a good way to give you give someone an understanding of what your script is like. 30 Days of Night, a movie about vampires and being stuck up in Alaska for 30 days, and The Descent, a movie about a bunch of women being locked down in underground caves, being attacked by monsters. They're both great movies. The example I just showed you follows the same basic format. Hopefully it wasn't too blurry for you to look at, but generally it's just, you're at the top you have the title and the genre, your contact info, then, the logline and the synopsis, and that's it. And these are what you would use if you were to pitch someone in person. I mean, you can use the pitch one sheet as a way to query people online in emails as well, but I wouldn't use one that long. But a one sheet is used mainly for in-person pitch sessions. That's what it's used for primarily. Or however you're doing these pitch sessions, whether it's at a screenwriting conference or just a pitching conference, or there's even like online pitch conferences you can do now through other websites. Though I guess digitally you could just give them their one sheet that way. I just have a note here about when I lived in Vancouver, or a city that has a big film scene. They would have screenwriter producer meetings where producers would tell writers what they're looking for, and then if writers had scripts that were like that, they would submit their one sheets. And someone actually found my script through this, and it didn't lead to anything, but it actually worked. If you want to find somewhere to go online for pitching or for email querying, which isn't really done that much anymore, but it's still something that you can do because it doesn't cost you anything but time. But if you were to get an IMDb Pro account, it would cost that, though for the first month it's free, so that's not bad. You could get a good use out of it. In a month, you could definitely find a lot of production companies that you could submit to through that. But it's always important to, look at who you're querying first before you send them the script, in case they don't do the kind of movie you're sending them. And but like I said, blind queries or just email queries is probably the least likeliest way these days, anyways, to get your screenplay looked at. It's unfortunate, I guess, but I guess no one really wants to do that anymore. You'll still find some people that do, but it's kind of rare. I don't know, maybe a lot of these companies will have websites, so be sure to check their website, and it might say somewhere in bold letters, please don't send us anything unsolicited, or maybe it'll say, we don't mind if you send us anything unsolicited. I've seen that on certain sites. Some sites say, no, don't send anything. Other sites like sure. They'll even have a little thing to put in your name and email and upload the script. But that's very rare. But what is an email screenplay query? So say that you did join IMDb Pro, or maybe you just straight up Googled production companies in the area and found a bunch that way, because you totally can without having to spend any money. But yes, just note, I also made another note here that, a lot of your queries will probably be ignored. Or if you do get a response, it'll be months later when you've probably forgotten that you even sent it. But what's the basic email screenplay query looks like? This is close to an example. This is pretty much just like one that I sent. So, dear the internet company, and I have a tiny little intro mentioning where I am, though I don't really think that matters anymore, telling someone if you're in Calgary where I am, or Vancouver or Toronto or LA or whatever. And a tiny little history about me. I graduated film school, and the script that I'm pitching is done, which was optioned, the one I just mentioned about getting a call about before I even graduated. But anyways, this is the tiny little synopsis, like 1 or 2 page. It's kind of like 2 or 3 sentences, longer than a log line, but only by a little bit. And then I kind of leave it with a bit of a cliffhanger. I don't give the whole story, just in case it works getting them interested in reading it. That's pretty short, like something like that. Once you write it once, you can just copy and paste it pretty much, unless don't blatantly copy and paste it. Make sure you change the name of who you're sending it to, and maybe mention a movie they made that you liked. If you're on their site and you're like, oh, they made this movie, that's cool. If you're pitching to someone that has made lots of movies, or you could just go to see what they make. So you should definitely check their website before you submit them, if they have a website, and everyone has a website pretty much. So this is, like I said, similar to an actual query that I sent for the comedy horror script Dawn I wrote in film school. And it did have an option for a little bit, but it didn't result in anything. But I mean, this wasn't the actual query that I used to get that. This was just a query that I've used for other companies, and I got some responses. But one thing also, if you are emailing them and someone actually replies, unless they say to send it, don't send it. Like if someone replies and they say, sure, like don't email them this and then attach it, just email them this, and then if they replied, they could say, hey, thanks for reaching out. We're not looking for anything, or maybe they'll say, sure, send it over, and then you send it. But don't just send it without asking. That'll probably annoy them and never want to talk to you again. Probably. But the formatting to your query doesn't need to be this long. It can be way shorter. It could literally just, be like this long and that's it. Like, hi, I'm Tim, this is my script. It looks like you could work with what you do. Here's the logline by. Saying before in the one sheet synopsis and query, it's always best to not completely give away the entire story to leave them intrigued and wanting to read your screenplay to find out what happens. You don't have to do this. You could just give everything away, but it could help. So yeah, that's generally everything I wanted to cover for this.